Welcome to the recruitment process video. In this video, we'll be reviewing what you need to do when recruiting staff within your organisation, in particular, training staff. The aim of this video is to provide you with information on how to recruit staff to meet the requirements of the regulatory body, as well as ensure that you collect the required evidence for the staff member's file, including certificates and professional development. The video aligns with the policy and procedure that we have written within our Quality and Compliance Manual. Please refer to Standard 4.4 for more information about this. In the video, we'll be going through trainers' qualifications and experience, advertising for a new staff member, the process for interview selection, confirming a new appointment, inducting the new staff member, creating a staff file, and how you're going to record professional development, and a few other documents. The objective of the recruitment process is to recruit trainers and assessors who actually hold all the qualifications that you require for the training that they're going to be delivering, but also that they've got the required experience. So this is really important, is that they actually have all the experience that you need to be able to deliver this qualification. Within the standards, it actually states that the training assessment has to be delivered by trainers and assessors who meet the minimum requirements and also of the qualification and also have maintained their professional development. These are set out in 15.4 or 4.4, SNR 4.4. The trainer's requirements are they should be able to demonstrate that they have the qualification to deliver and assess. So they should have a certificate for in training assessment. They have currency within their industry, and this should be a minimum of 3 years experience within their industry, where they've actually worked within the industry that they're delivering the qualification for. They should have skills directly related to the training and assessment, so the types of the units that you've selected for your qualification. You should be going through the performance criteria of those units and actually looking at, are they able to be able to demonstrate that they can deliver training to the level of the unit of competency and have relevant experience in that. That they've developed their vet knowledge and skills by attending vet-specific conferences and workshops and things like that. So as I stated before, a trainer and assessor must have a minimum of a certificate for in training and assessment. And the current one is TAE 40110. In the past, there was one called BSED and TAA, which were also certificate for in training and assessment. They're now obsolete and they're not relevant. So they cannot use that qualification anymore. They must have this new qualification, TAE 40110. This qualification gives training and assessment requirements. So it actually teaches them how to deliver training and assessment. Now, if you have a trainer and assessor who doesn't currently hold this qualification, but they might have industry experience that is relevant to the training that you're going to be delivering, they can work under supervision. But that supervision arrangement is that every assessment tool that they complete, the supervisor has actually got to sign off on every piece of them. So if they're marking assessments, then the supervisor needs to go through every single assessment and check what they've marked. Now, you can work under supervision for a period of 2 years, but that's a long time to be having a supervisor who's checking all the documentation on behalf of someone else. So it's really important that you make sure that you actually have a trainer and assessor who holds the current qualification, which is a certificate for in training assessment. They also need to have currency in the industry. So what this means is they must be able to demonstrate that they have current knowledge, experience and qualifications of the industry practices and the job role within their industry. So for example, if they are working in a childcare industry and you want to deliver a childcare qualification, they should have at least 3 years experience of working within a childcare centre or a family daycare centre. And that includes they must have changed nappies, fed the babies, had play equipment, maybe made some Play-Doh, planned a program for the children within the childcare centre, there would be a range of things that they'd need to do. And how you know what performance they need to meet is you actually go through the performance criteria within each unit of competency. And in the unit of competency, it actually says what the students must demonstrate. This is also what the trainer assessor must demonstrate. They must have relevant experience in that. Because how can you deliver a unit of competency if you actually don't have any experience in changing nappies or feeding a baby or things like that? And it's not enough that you've fed your own baby and that you've changed nappies for your own baby. It's got to be babies within a childcare setting where you've actually got to meet the requirements of the policies and procedures within that childcare centre. Now, childcare is just one example. Another example could be warehousing, a Certificate 2 in warehousing. Now, your trainer and assessor may have years of experience of teaching warehousing, where they've worked in RTOs and taught warehouse. But they haven't actually got any relevant industry experience of working in a warehouse, and not current in particular. So what they've got to have is got to be current within the last 3 years. So it could be that you find a trainer and assessor who worked in a warehouse 10 years ago. Is their skills and experience current? Because they actually haven't worked within the industry currently. The equipment could have changed. The forklift truck could have changed. The way that they do things could have changed. Within the last 10 years in particular, a lot of things would have changed. So they need to be current with the industry. And in warehousing, what equipment are they using? Have they got experience of working on that equipment? So one of them would be working with a forklift truck, but it could be an inventory system or computerized system that they might need to know about as well. So they've got to have current industry, and the better check is to make sure that they actually meet the performance criteria requirements. Now, they could hold the qualification, and they may have done it in the last 5 years, but do they have the currency in the industry? Can they actually share their experiences with their students on how they worked within a warehouse, or how they worked in a childcare centre, or maybe within an office at a Certificate 2 level, maybe working as a receptionist and working their way up? So how they can demonstrate this, so it should be that they should have current experience within their workplace within the last 2 years, but they should have at least 3 years industry experience all up. That they've attended professional development or training and education that is focused on their industry. So what are the industry requirements? So there could have been changes in the industry. So for example, the forklift truck, driving within the warehouse qualification. Have they updated their qualification or the unit of competency within using a forklift truck? Or within childcare, there's been many, many changes within the childcare industry lately. Have they attended any workshops or training to update their skills and experience against what the changes have been? So they could have participated in professional development or industry networks. So the different networks are provided for different industries. So for accounting, they have an accounting network, and business, they have a business network. So there's a range of networks that they could be involved in. Now, this is just an example of some of the things that they could have done to maintain their currency with the industry. There are many different ways that you can maintain currency, but these are some of the ones that would be highlighted on what you should be checking when you're hiring your trainers and assessors. They should also have developed their vet knowledge and skills. So it's not just enough that they've done their Certificate 4 in training and assessment. They must actually be continually updating their skills and experience as a trainer and assessor. So they need to continue to develop those knowledge and skills. So things like attend professional development. So it could be that they've done a assessment validation workshop, or training activities that are focused on effective communication in assessment and or workplace training contexts. Knowledge of language literacy and numeracy. Now, this is a new thing that's come out. A lot of people need to update their qualifications now for the LLM unit, but they could have updated that unit in particular. Had recent assessment or workplace training activities within an organisation, and participated in vet professional networks. Now, some examples of professional development for the vet sector and the industry sector. So your trainers and assessors could be a member of an association in the vet sector. One that we recommend highly is VELG training. VELG is a network that's fairly cheap to join as a member, but also you get monthly updates. So they send you out newsletters regularly. They have a yearly conference, and at that conference they have lots of speakers there who talk about hands-on practical things that you need to know to work within a training organisation. So it's really helpful for your trainers and assessors to go there. And at the VELG conference, they also go through different sectors, so that they've got admin-based marketing information, things about compliance, and they've also got a whole section on training and assessing. So trainers and assessors can attend and learn new skills for their training and assessment. So as I said, attend a conference is another way that they could do that. Another network within Australia is ACPEC, which is the Australian Council of Private Education and Training. So they could be a member of ACPEC as well. Undertaken some group assessment validation, where they've actually worked as a team with other assessors to validate assessment tools, or maybe just attended a webinar. So you don't actually have to leave home to go and do this professional development. You can just do a webinar. There are also online courses that you can do as well. So there's a range of different ways that you can maintain your currency within the vet sector. You can also subscribe to newsletters, get updates from industry skills councils. There's lots of different ways that you can maintain your professional development in the vet sector. In the industry sector, it's very similar, but this time it's focused on the industry. So attended Industry Skills Council conferences. For example, the Service Skills Australia has a conference that they do every year. There's a number of the Industry Skills Councils also hold conferences, so you could actually attend those. Now, even though they're training based, it's industry based. So they're looking at specifically your industry that you're training and assessing in. And they actually have workshops based on what you're delivering training and assessment in and how to keep current within those industries. They could have updated their qualifications. So, for example, they had a TAA and then they did a TAE, or they could have added the LNN unit. So that's keeping up to date with the training qualification. But in the industry sector, it could be that they held a older qualification in Certificate 3 in business, for example. And it could have been maybe an O2 training package, and they update to the latest qualification training package. So they upgrade their qualifications to make sure that they're current with the qualification that they're teaching. They could have completed industry-specific workshops. So, for example, if they're working in childcare, they attended a workshop on reviewing the changes in the childcare industry and what you need to do. Could be family daycare and looking at updating the changes in family daycare. It could be doing a workshop on new equipment for forklift driving or for confined space, or a range of different units that you may be delivering where there's changes in the industry. It might be legislation changes where you can attend workshops or webinars or things like that. They've undertaken training within their industry sector, so not just the qualification, it could be non-accredited training as well. Non-accredited training is great examples of professional development that the trainer could also undertake. Okay, as you will know, within your tools and forms, you've got a quality and compliance manual. This quality and compliance manual includes all the policies and procedures on how to run your RTO. We're specifically looking at SNR 4.4, which is your trainers and assessors and how you're going to recruit your trainers and assessors. So as I stated earlier, if you actually review your policies and procedures manual, so the quality and compliance manual under SNR 4.4, you actually find this whole process is in there. Today we're going to be having a look at your HR forms, which are also provided in your package. These are, you'll get a position description, there's an advertisement request form. Applicant suitability, is the trainer that's applying for the position actually suitable for the position? Interview questions, so we've actually set out some set interview questions that you can use at interview. A trainer's matrix, and how we can update all the details on the trainer's matrix to demonstrate currency within their industry and training. Recruitment checklist that you can use on your staff file. We also provide you with a staff induction PowerPoint presentation that you can use for inducting new trainers and assessors. And all your trainers should be issued with the trainer's handbook. And in the trainer's handbook, it includes all the policies and procedures that are relevant to the trainer and assessor. All right, when we're recruiting a new staff member, first of all, we need to identify that we need to get a new staff member. Now, if you're a new RTO, you may not have any trainers and assessors on board now. So you need to get some trainers and assessors on board to meet the requirements of the qualifications that you're going to be delivering. If you're an existing RTO, it could be that you're putting a new qualification on your scope and you need to now get a new staff member to meet the requirements of the new qualification that you're placing on your scope. So first of all, we identify that you need to recruit someone. We also need to identify the skills and experience required for that position. Now, we have a trainer and assessor position description that includes all of the requirements that the trainer and assessor must have to be a trainer and assessor within a position description. You need to identify how you wish to employ. So is it going to be a permanent part-time, permanent full-time, or a contract basis? Now, a contractor is someone who operates under their own ABN. They issue you with an invoice and you pay them on the invoice. And you can set a time period of when they're going to work. So you can say, okay, you're as required, so as we need you to come in and we'll book you in. Or it could be 3 days a week for the next 10 weeks. So you set a contract where they're going to be working that period and how many hours they're going to work, and whether you're going to pay them for just face-to-face hours or whether you're also going to be paying them for their assessment marking. An employee is someone who will be working directly for the organisation and they're paid through your payroll. They don't issue any invoices, they're paid through payroll. So just like any other staff member within your organisation, you can have full-time or part-time. So you could say, well, we're going to have these trainers and assessors, they're going to come in 3 days a week, this trainer and assessor. We're going to pay them 3 days a week, and even when we have a break, they're still to come in to do their training and assessment. So it's up to you how you want to do this. RTOs generally will do a bit of both. Some of them are purely doing contractor and others will purely do employees, and then there's a lot of RTOs who do a combination of both. But it's really up to your RTO and how you want to set it up. If you're a new registration, you might want to go contractor because at the moment you may not have any money to actually pay for some trainers and assessors as an employee. So you might want to put them on as a contractor. Now that we've identified that we need a trainer and assessor, you now need to advertise. So how are you going to advertise? Well, we have an advertising process within our recruitment policy and procedure. And what we have is what's called an advertisement request form. So this is where you've identified a need, you complete this advertisement request form, which is then approved by the CEO. Now, the purpose of this is to make sure that you're advertising for the positions that you need. Now, ASQA like this process because they like to see that you have a really good process in place for your recruitment of your trainers and assessors. So we've actually identified a need and we complete an advertisement request form. So you can place the advertisement on Seek or through a newsletter or a newspaper. There's a range of different ways you can do it. Seek is a really good way to advertise. It's fairly cheap. The ad's online for a month, and whereas a newspaper is only there for that weekend. So it's a much cheaper way of advertising. When you advertise, you need to also include your key performance criteria in the position descriptions, but we'll go through that a bit further later. So we need to place the advertisement. So as I said, Seek is a cheaper option as your advertisement is displayed for a month. Newspaper, depending on the type of person that you're recruiting for, it could be that, because some industries, they're not computer savvy yet, and the only way that they look for a job would be through the newspaper. So you need to have a look at your industry and whether the type of people that work within your industry would actually be computer savvy or not. Most people now pretty much know how to use Seek, and they will go on there because it's pretty easy. They can actually register on Seek and get updates whenever there's a new ad that is placed. The advert should include the key performance criteria from the position description, and you should complete an advertisement. So here is an example of what an advertisement would look like. Now, we can provide you with this sample. We have no problems with giving you that. This one's specifically for aged care and children's services, but you can easily adapt it for the different industries that you have. So in this advertisement, we've included the qualifications that we want them to deliver and assess. we've also included a position objective. So what we see as the objective of this staff member when they come in, what they're going to do. We've also got their knowledge and experience. So you need to put in there that they need to have at least 3 years industry experience. And you can even say something like, if you do not have 3 years industry experience, please do not apply for this job, because they need to have at least 3 years industry experience. And what qualifications do they need to hold? Are you going to be specific with what they are? I would put in the qualifications, and you could even put the units, the code, the qualification code, so that they know what qualification you're delivering. And then the key selection criteria. Now, the key selection criteria we've just taken out of the position description for your trainer and assessor, and we've just made some adapted that a little bit so to actually include the qualification that they're delivering. So the key selection criteria is that they've actually got to hold the vocational qualification that they're going to be delivering. They've got to hold the certificate for in training and assessment. They must have industry experience. They have demonstrated knowledge and understanding of training and assessment. So whatever you want to put in there. Now that's up to you. We've got an example of what you can use, but that's up to you what you put in there. But you want to have at least that they have the qualification that they're going to be delivering and the qualification, the Cert 4 in training assessment that they must hold. I often have some clients who want to put in there that they're applying to become an RTO. That can ring alarm bells when, or applying to put a qualification on their scope is the other one. That can also ring alarm bells with a new trainer assessor who's looking at the advert, and they may not apply for it because they can see that you're not currently an RTO, and some of them get a bit scared off by that. So you don't need to actually tell them that you're not an RTO yet. You just tell them that you're a training provider and these are the qualifications that you're going to be delivering. And then when they come to the interview, you can explain that it is that you're actually applying for registration. But I wouldn't be putting that on the advert. Okay, interview selection. How do you pick the right person, and what should you be doing when you're selecting the appropriate candidate? Okay, so once you've sent the advertisement out, you'll get your resumes that'll come back. Before you even interview them, you need to go through all those resumes and check that they've actually got the qualifications and experience that are required. So as applications begin to be submitted, commence completion of an applicant suitability checklist. Now this is a document that we've put together that you can use to check the applicant, each resume, and that they actually have all the skills and experience required to be able to deliver and assess. So, and it's only page 1 that you need to complete at this stage for each of the candidates. And this addresses the suitability against each key performance criteria within your position description for the trainer and assessor. You need to shortlist the applicants. So once you've done the suitability checklist, pick out the best candidates from that suitability checklist and shortlist who you're actually going to interview. Make contact with the shortlisted applicants, give them a phone call, or you might want to give them an email and say, we'd like to interview you for the position that was advertised on Seek newspaper, whatever you did. Advise that they have progressed to the shortlist stage and organise a time for them to attend an interview. So stage 2 is the interview stage. It's where you carry out an interview, and we've actually provided you with a trainer and assessor interview questions. So you can actually use these questions through the interview process, and there's specific questions around trainers and assessors and what you need to know about your trainer and assessor. So use this template. This should be stapled to the front of their resume at the interview, and you actually go through the form and ask all the questions. And this is going to help you with picking the best applicant. So you can amend and add any questions to this document. We have no problems with you doing that. But you've got to, and what I would specifically add might be specific to your industry. Some questions that are specific to your industry. But the majority of the questions are there for you that you can use. Then you need to review the interviewed applicants. So you've done the interviews, you've held them, and now you need to go through all of these trainer and assessor interview questions and the applicant suitability checklist, and just make sure, see which one is the best applicant. And select the most suitable to progress to the next stage of selection process. Now you can complete page 2 of the applicant suitability checklist. So that's where you can actually go through, and these are the shortlisted ones, and these are some things that we need to answer about the shortlisted. So you've had the interview, how did they perform in the interview? Stage 3 is a trainer matrix. Now this is another document that we provide you. We recommend that you actually phone the applicant and say that they've progressed to the next stage, and you email them the trainer matrix document and get them to complete it. Now you can either do this before they come to the interview, or you can do it following the interview. This is up to you. But the best time to get them to fill in this document is before they actually, you've actually given them the job. So that way you've already got a trainer's matrix and it's already ready to go. Most trainers and assessors are used to having to complete a trainer's matrix or a staff matrix, and they may already have one that they completed for another RTO. So that's quite fine using that. You can use the one that they used at another RTO. At least you've got one staff matrix that you can go through. And then you can actually check, do they actually have all the qualifications and experience against the performance criteria of each unit or the qualification. You should review each completed trainer matrix and select the most suitable applicant. And then you can complete page 3 of the applicant suitability checklist. So that's where we're now, okay, we're getting down, they've completed this trainer's matrix, we've got their resume, we've done the interview, and now we have a much better idea of who's going to be the best candidate for your position. A trainer matrix can also be referred to as a staff matrix. Reference checks. So you've now shortlisted. It might be that you've only got one, you might have 2 or 3 trainers that you're interested in. You should carry out at least 2 reference checks. So now you need to start completing the recruitment checklist for trainer and assessor, where you can put their details up the top, what position they've applied for, when they came in for an interview, and yes, they are suitable. And then you go through and you actually we've got a number of questions there that you can ask the referees to identify whether they're suitable candidates for the position. So if satisfied with the reference checks, make contact with the applicant to advise them that they are successful and that they've got the position. If they do not accept, go back through your shortlist to the next best applicant. Most of the time they'll accept straight away, and most trainers and assessors will fit in around your schedule, or you actually set up the schedule to meet what their needs are and when they're available. And I have found from my experience the best way to set up your training and assessment is to look at your trainers' availability when they're available and set up the training and assessment strategy on how you're going to deliver the training around the availability of your trainer and assessor. Okay, we're now going to confirm that they've employed and they're now going to be a contractor or a full-time employee, whatever they're going to be. We've actually included an offer of employment document that you can use. Now you can either do this offer of employment document as a document that is emailed. Okay, now we move on to a contract. So they've accepted the position. We can now send them a contract with a letter of offer, and these documents need to be populated before you send them out. Okay, they've accepted the position. We're now going to commence them on the first day. Now, I wouldn't commence them on the first day in a classroom. That would not be a good idea. Get them there and the first thing they've got to do is start in a classroom. It's a better idea and it's going to be much better for the culture of your organisation if they actually come in, have an induction process, and you notify them of that induction process. They come and meet the rest of the team and get to know everybody in your organisation. And we actually have a PowerPoint that you can use for the induction as well. Okay, the induction process includes a range of forms that you can use. So we already talked about the letter of offer, contract of employment, position description that they will need to sign. All of your trainers and assessors will need to sign a position description and a contract of employment, and they need to be on your staff file for audit. They need to be ready for audit. We have a staff induction PowerPoint presentation that you can use for inducting. Staff details form should be completed by the assessor. They can either do it at the induction or prior to and bring it along, but it needs to go on the staff file. A tax declaration, that's if they're going to be a permanent or part-time employee only, that they'll need to do a tax deck. So that's up to you whether they're going to be part-time or casual or contractor. Superannuation, same thing. So if they are an employee, then they need to complete superannuation. If they're a contractor, they've got to pay their own tax and they've got to pay their own super. Okay, the induction presentation. On the day of the induction, you need to have the following documents ready. You'll want to have an induction schedule, something that's just some points, an outline of what's going to be covered and what you're going to do on the day. So things like, we'll do the PowerPoint, but also show them, introduce them to other trainers or other staff members, to the equipment, that sort of stuff. You might have a little agenda that you can go through. A recruitment checklist. We've already got one for you, so it should be partially completed before you go to induction. So at induction, you should be able to complete your recruitment checklist, which goes on the staff file. A signed contract of employment you should receive that on the day of induction, and also their position description should be signed on the day of the induction too as well. Or you should at least have it in your hands and be able to put it on your staff file. And then conduct an induction using the staff induction PowerPoint. The administration things that you need to know about, you need to have some forms ready, so you'll have to have the staff details form ready for them to complete. You might have emailed it to them beforehand, but they need to have completed that. If they are an employee, tax deck form, so you can get tax declaration forms from the news agency. Most news agencies will hold them, or you can order them direct from the tax office. So it's up to you how you want to get them, but you want to get them in the office. The Super Choice form you can actually download from the internet, or they can just provide you with some super details. A lot of accounting systems like Xero and MyOb, they have a Super Choice form that you can print from the accounting system, and they can fill out that with their super details, and then you enter it into your accounting system. They need to provide copies of the signed contract and position description for their records, so you need to actually provide a photocopy for them for their records as well. Okay, so induction forms and tools. An induction includes a review of the trainer's handbook. So this is what's in the PowerPoint presentation that you're going to be delivering. It actually goes through the relevant policies and procedures for your trainers and assessors and what they need to know from the trainer's handbook. You need to give them a copy of the trainer's handbook at induction as well, so that they can refer to that at a later date. There are some relevant forms on training and assessment tools, so you might want to also get some assessment tools ready for them to have a look at. You might have some other documentation that you want them to complete. It's up to you. You need to issue the successful applicant with the required resources and equipment to undertake their duties. So it might be that you're delivering the training on site at your facilities, and all they've got to do is turn up, but they should at least get a copy of the assessment tools before they start training, and the training tools, so that they can read through it and get a good understanding of the training and assessment tools before they start. So if you've got a textbook that you're giving to the students, they should get a copy of the textbook. They should get a copy of the trainer's copy of the assessment tools with the suggested answers on them, so that they can review them and align them with what they know within their industry. Okay, we need to finalise the induction. Review their position description with them, discuss the expectations that you have of the trainer and assessor, get any feedback from them on what their expectations would be, and make sure you're on the same page before they commence working with you. Complete the employment file checklist on the recruitment checklist form. So on the back of the recruitment checklist form, there's actually a checklist of documents that you need to complete and file and put on the staff file and things like that. Make sure that this recruitment checklist file document is completed before you go to audit, because the ASCA auditor will want to see that. And you need to create a trainer file. Okay, staff files. So the best way we find to set up a staff file is to get a manila file. So you can use buff, you can use colours. I've done it where I've had one colour for admin staff and one colour for training staff. Just makes it easier when you're pulling out the files, so you know the difference between the different staff. You're going to need some tube clips or clips to be able to clip all the documents into the file. You don't need to do clear sleeve folders or big folders or anything like that. Just a manila folder will suffice. You've got to remember you've got to file these things, and you could end up with a lot of trainers and then you've got no space left to be able to put all your files if you end up doing big folders. You're going to need some plastic sleeves and some labels. Now this is an example of what this is the staff details form that you need to give to your trainer and assessor to complete. This form should be stapled on the inside cover of the staff folder. We just recommend you put it in there because it's got all the contact details of that staff member, but also the emergency contact details of any family members that they need to contact as well. On this form, it also has their bank details, and I think there's also a super, an area where you can put super details on there as well. This is the recruitment checklist that we've been talking about, and it should be completed progressively throughout the recruitment process and finalised following induction. This should be placed into the recruitment checklist sleeve within the trainer file, and you should have this fully completed before the staff member can start. So they should have checked off everything here. Now, a contract of employment is a document that should be signed by the trainer upon acceptance of the position. Now, if your trainer and assessor is the CEO of the organisation, they don't need a contract of employment. But anybody who's an employee of the organisation will need to complete a contractor agreement, and ASCA will want to see this at audit. This should be signed by both the trainer and assessor and the RTO, and then placed into the trainer's file. The position description is reviewed and discussed and signed during induction. A copy of the position description should be provided to the trainer for their records, and a copy should be filed into the file. The resume that the trainer provides you should include the information that is relevant that you need to know to make sure that they're actually going to be meeting the requirements of the qualification. So it should be the places that they were employed, the name of the organisation, the position they held, a brief outline of their duties and employment, when they started with that organisation, when they ended with that organisation, the qualifications they hold currently, and it should have the national code, the national title, the name of the RTO where the certificate was completed and the year completed. Should also include all their professional development, including industry and vet sector, and the resume must be signed by the trainer. This is something that ASCA requires to verify that the resume is actually a true and correct document that has come from the trainer assessor. So they should sign it to say, yes, I agree, this is my document. I actually did all these things. Then you need to place the resume into the resume sleeve and onto the staff file. Now, not all trainers and assessors are going to provide you with such a extensive document like this. This should be what a proper resume looks like. They may have less information than that. That is why we get them to fill in the trainer's matrix, because most of the time we don't have the information on the resume. So the trainer matrix is completed during stage 3 of the recruitment process and should be filed on the trainer's file in the trainer matrix sleeve of the trainer file. All of the qualifications that the trainer assessor gives you a copy of, you must cite the original, and actually you should go buy a stamp that says certified true and correct copy of the original copy or something like that, original document, and you can stamp that document and sign it. Now, it doesn't have to be a justice of the peace. You can have a JP within your organisation if you wanted to, but it can just be any employee of the RTO who can sign that they've certified that this is a true and correct copy of the original. And you must view the original document. You can't just take the photocopy and say that you've actually viewed the original when you haven't. You must have reviewed the original. So I strongly recommend go buy a stamp. Officeworks has them. You can get them from different stationery stores, or you can get one made up. But certified true and correct copy, you sign it and date it for every qualification, copy of qualification that you put on the file. So this includes their certificate for and training assessment and the qualifications that they're delivering and assessing. The Cert for and Training Assessment should be filed in the sleeve for training qualification, and the qualifications that they're going to be, other qualifications that they hold should be in the vocational qualification sleeve. Vet qualifications. So trainers, as we've discussed before, they must hold the qualification that they intend to deliver and assess, and originals of all qualifications must be cited and a copy taken. So as I said before, cited as true and correct copy, and it should be saved on the file. You should validate the qualifications that they actually have. You would be surprised at how many audits that I've been to where they haven't actually, the trainer and assessors has the qualifications, but it's not a real qualification. They actually didn't get it from anywhere. They've copied it from someone. So you should validate that they're authentic and that they're actually their qualifications. So the first thing you should do is get the certificate, look up the RTO on training.gov.au and check that it actually is a real RTO. Check that the RTO actually has that qualification that you're holding on their scope of registration, or at the time when they were issued the certificate, it was on their scope of registration. Check that the RTO ID is correct against the name. You could also ring the RTO and verify that they were a student of the RTO. You can validate their industry experience by getting at least a minimum of 2 reference checks and asking questions that will assist you to verify that the candidate is suitable for your RTO. So when you're doing the reference checks, asking questions about, did they have these skills and experience? Did they change nappies? Did they work on a reception or something like that? You need to go through and actually identify that they have the skills and experience they said they had. Okay, big part of when you hire trainers and assessors is their ongoing professional development. And this is not just your trainers and assessors, this is all your staff. They should be doing ongoing professional development. So trainers must demonstrate professional development within the vet sector and industry. They will be training and assessing. So, and all their certificates should be cited as true and correct copy. And professional development evidence should be placed in the professional development sleeve. So these are things like a certificate that says that they've attended a conference, a workshop non-accredited workshop that they may have attended. Anything that was non-accredited that they did, it could have been a webinar or things like that, that goes in the professional development sleeve. Now, if you have a trainer or assessor who doesn't have currency within the industry, or they haven't kept up to date with the vet sector, and they need more development within the vet sector, for example, or might be within the industry, you can complete a professional development plan, and you can do this following induction or same year when they first started. The professional development plan includes, it's a basis of, okay, yes, we've identified you have some gaps, and this is what we recommend that you do as an RTO. We're recommending to the trainer assessor, this is what you need to do over the next year, so next 12 months. And if you look at 4.4, standard 4.4, you'll actually see more information there about professional development. But you should be encouraging professional growth with your trainers and assessors and making sure that they understand that they've got to keep current within the industry. And not all trainers and assessors know that they need to keep current. So you need to make sure that you're onto them and that they're maintaining their currency within the industry. And this is your job, is to keep on them to make sure that they are continually developing their skills, because as the RTO, it's your responsibility. Okay, some other documents that you may need. Some industries require that you'll need to do a working with children check. Now, if you're going to be delivering any training to any students under the age of 18, you must have, your trainer and assessor must complete a working with children check. Now, this could also be that they're working with children within a childcare centre. So if they're doing a childcare qualification or anything to do with children within their qualification, so it might be a counselling certificate where they're counselling children, they should also do a working with children check. So it's not just the trainers and assessors who the trainer or assessor may only be delivering training to over 18s, but they may be dealing with children within the workplace. So anybody who's doing that must complete a working with children check. If required, if they're required to supervise students who are working in the industry as well. Some industries require that you need to do a police record check. Now, aged care industry, for example, they require that they must complete a police record check. So any industry that you're delivering training in that has other conditions and requirements that you need to meet, like working children check or police record checks, your trainers and assessors must hold those as well, because they've got to meet the industry requirements, which is, you know, whatever checks they've got to have. Now, if you've got an employee only, so these are just for employees, all your employees must complete a tax file declaration form. As I stated earlier, you can get this form from any news agency, and you can also order them from the Australian Tax Office, so you can order them through there. And the Super Choice form, as I stated, most accounting software, you can get the Super Choice form through the software, or you can just take their details and enter it directly into your accounting system. Okay, this was the recruitment process. So by following this process, you will improve your quality of your staff and ensure that you meet the requirements of standard 4.4 or 15.4. Thank you very much for listening to our recruitment process video. I'm hoping this will assist you with making sure that you have the correct details, you have your hire trainers and assessors who are skilled and experienced, and when we come to audit, we'll actually see that you have staff files in place and that they're very organised. Please do not hesitate to contact your client liaison officer for any further details, because they can assist you throughout the whole recruitment process.